All of us are probably familiar with some version of assertive discipline. Typically, if a student misbehaves, the teacher writes the student's name on the board. If the same student misbehaves again, the teacher puts a check mark by the name. For each instance of inappropriate behavior, the teacher adds another check mark. Specific, predetermined consequences apply for various numbers of check marks. Some people swear by this approach. Others swear at it. I have worked with many schools and districts that require assertive discipline and many that officially oppose it. I believe that these schools and districts, in viewing assertive discipline as either a solution or a problem, have lost sight of the critical factor: the teacher. Mrs. Hamilton was the best teacher I ever worked with. I had the good fortune to spend 7 years in the same school with her as an assistant principal and then principal. During that time, I made at least 200 informal visits to her classroom. In a casual conversation just before I moved out of state to take another position, Mrs. Hamilton mentioned that she was thinking of not using assertive discipline in her class the next year. I was stunned. I had never known that she used assertive discipline. Why did I not know? Well, I rarely saw anyone's name on the board, and I never noticed a student's name with a check mark beside it. Her classroom management skills were as polished as her teaching. Mrs. Hamilton did not see assertive discipline as a necessary classroom management approach. However, if before she came to her own conclusions I had decided that assertive discipline was wrong and banned it from our school, would that have helped her as a teacher? If assertive discipline gave her confidence, then the students and our school were better for it. Now, you may be thinking that assertive discipline seems to be the best approach. Of course, if this were true, every teacher would use it and thrive in their classrooms. Well, I'd like you to meet Mr. Lewis, a teacher from my first year as a principal. In the second week of school, I decided to make the rounds of my teachers' classrooms. At 26, younger than every teacher in the school, I was a little hesitant to visit classes, but I knew this was the best way to help improve instruction. So, I walked into Mr. Lewis's third period English class. I quickly realized that he was quite familiar with assertive discipline. On the board were the names of about a dozen students. The last one was Ricky, written in letters a foot high with at least 5 check marks, each one larger than the one before. The last check mark was 3 feet tall from point to tip. At the board, hunched over like a leprechaun, Mr. Lewis was aggressively gesturing toward the student. "Come on! You want another one?" Clearly, assertive discipline was not working here. I might have tried to find a better technique, but this would merely have placed a new, equally ineffective bandage over the same gaping wound. Assertive discipline was not the problem. Mr. Lewis was the problem.